everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, August 13th, 2023. Wow, this week was a real roller coaster. I'm a simple girl. I like a simple pun. And there it is! Wow! A roller coaster of a week on Y&R. A roller coaster and a courtroom. I don't know which one of those things I liked and needed better, but both of them are pretty good. And I think Y&R just increased its grade with me for this week. Y&R went from a C to a B. Probably just on the roller coaster alone, but the courtroom scene was really the cherry on top of the roller coaster. Do you think that the same courtroom was used for Phyllis's trial and Jack and Diane's wedding? Was it the same courtroom, just cleverly rearranged? I think so. Oh my. Oh my. 6 months of community service and 1 year of probation. Really? For faking your own death and killing a guy? That is a pretty light sentence, I would say. Only in Soap World. Only in Soap World can you kill a guy and get community service. But you gotta do what you gotta do. It was the 50th anniversary of The Young and the Restless, for crying out loud. Somebody had to do something crazy. Do you guys think that we will actually see Phyllis alluding to her community service at all, ever? And if so, what kind of community service will it be? I mean, definitely she'll be serving the Thanksgiving meal at Crimson Lights to the homeless. But what else could Phyllis do to make up for this? Will she be picking up litter off of Highway 59, wearing a slinky dress while she's doing it? That's what I like to imagine. Okay, I can forgive the light sentence. Whatever, it's soaps. What I have some trouble with, though, is how much Phyllis was twisting the events to make herself sound like the victim to the judge, rather than just actually taking responsibility for what she did. I mean, I know she was fighting for her life, but as far as the viewership goes, it would have maybe been nice to see her taking some actual responsibility for her choices. I mean, Michelle Stafford is just so good at tugging the heartstrings, making Phyllis seem so vulnerable. But I know, because I was there, that it was a whole lot of lies. She was telling a whole lot of lies, or maybe this is how she's processed it in her mind. Maybe this is how she really truly sees it. But from the outside, we had a bird's eye view of the whole thing, and it felt like a lot of lies. She made her pitch to the judge about how Big Bad Jeremy coerced her into everything, and how everything she did was just to protect her kids. She was just trying to protect her kids from this dangerous criminal. But I feel kind of the same way that Summer does at this point, that, oh, you only feel sorry because you got caught. You're only sorry to the extent that it got in the way of your plans. And you're never really going to change. You're saying all the right things that you're going to change, but you're never really going to change. You just are who you are unapologetically. So if that's the case, then we might as well just skip the apologies. We might as well just skip the faux remorse. As a point in favor of Phyllis, though, she really knows how to throw a party in the park. Say what you will about Phyllis. She knows how to throw a party. And at least Lauren appreciated it, even if her two ungrateful children didn't appreciate the park party. At least Lauren appreciated it. I mean, yeah, sure, Phyllis let her kids think that she was dead and stacked up a whole bunch of crimes and then expected her kids to help bail her out. Okay, yeah, all that happened. But that table setting was beautiful, wouldn't you say? I mean, she didn't just throw a blanket on the ground. No, she had a table with a lace tablecloth and a beautiful, like, gradient, summery, delicious looking cake. It looked amazing. Who even needs plates? Just dig into the side of that cake with your fork and go to town. There's nothing that says pity party more than just digging into the cake, a whole cake with a fork. Eating a cake, a whole cake with a fork is a moment in one's life, that's for sure. It sets a scene. It's really such a shame, too, because she had all those beautifully colored macaroons on the side. She had gorgeous little decorations of dahlias. She had champagne. I mean, I don't even know where she got all of the money to buy this stuff. Jeremy took all of her money. Didn't Big Bad Wolf Jeremy take all of her money? And even if the sentence that she received was light, I'm pretty sure that the life insurance fraud didn't get dropped. She would, in reality, which this is not, she would have civil suits coming at her left and right, and the insurance company would be knocking on her door trying to get that money back. She would be in debt so bad she would be ruined. She'd have nothing left for a party in the park. And where was she going to get the money to pay off the EMT? Maybe that's the real reason that she didn't go forward with trying to buy his testimony. She couldn't afford it. So she did the smart thing. I mean, Phyllis did the smart thing by deciding to not further manipulate due process in this case. Even though she had won the battle against Tucker, he did agree to let her off his blackmail leash, except she was going to have, if she wanted the EMT's testimony, she was going to have to pay for it. And then lo and behold, what do you know? She turns herself in and pleads guilty. But maybe that's just my cynical view. Maybe she just simply realized, okay, I just better not make this any worse. It is not worth the risk trying to pay off this EMT guy. And also, she had this very intense conversation with Summer early in the week, and it was riveting. It was really one of the best scenes that both of these actresses have been in. I mean, it was really, really gut-wrenching and heartfelt, and you could really see that both Summer and Phyllis had totally different views on what had happened, and Phyllis was wringing her hands trying to get Summer to understand, but Summer was done understanding. And so Phyllis decided to just give up the goose after that, the goose being herself. She turned herself in. Guilty, guilty, she pleaded. I mean, Summer's life has been destroyed over what Phyllis has done. And, mind you, same as with Phyllis, it was Summer's own decisions that got her there. Jeremy didn't coerce Phyllis into anything, and Phyllis didn't coerce Summer. Yes, it was you know, you can make a comparison here, can't you? Because, you know, Phyllis has been saying, I was weakened. You know, I was vulnerable, and Jeremy took advantage of that. Well, Summer was weakened and vulnerable. She thought her mother had died. And Phyllis took advantage of that. But in the end, Phyllis was a big girl. She made her own decisions. Summer was a big girl. She made her own decisions. But now, Summer seems to have really realized that she made the wrong choice. I don't sense the same regret for the same reasons in Phyllis. I feel like Phyllis regrets it because it didn't go right. Summer, I think, seems to really realize that she made the wrong choice. And that it's always going to be something when it comes to Phyllis. She realized that she put her mother and all that above her own life, and she should have just chosen her husband and her son and her life. I mean, Phyllis is always going to be this way. There's always, you know, this is the mother that she has. You know, Summer has a mother who is wild and unpredictable and petty and vengeful. And if she doesn't get into more trouble today, she'll get into more trouble tomorrow or the next day or the next. Phyllis is just a ticking time bomb waiting to explode again, and Summer has realized that she risked everything for that. And it'll just end up happening again. Summer took the shrapnel this time, but next time it could be Daniel. I mean, he's had it too. They both put their foot down. It's this moment of realizing, oh, I love you, but you're toxic, and I can't enable you. So it was no surprise this week that Summer's choosing to free herself from the emotional roller coaster of Phyllis. That made complete sense. No surprise. But it was a total surprise that Summer decided that she wanted to go on an actual roller coaster. I mean, I didn't see that coming when she started talking about wanting to go on a roller coaster. I was almost putting it in the back of my mind like, okay, well, she's gonna come back and talk about how she went on a roller coaster. But then we went to an actual amusement park, on an actual roller coaster. We rolled around in the sky, you guys. This has got to be a first for daytime. Strap a camera to the front of the roller coaster and let's make history. Yes! I thought that was so much fun. Such a creative idea. Where was it filmed, by the way? Because when I was looking at Summer, I could off in the distance see the LA skyline. So they, must have gone somewhere out in the suburbs. Gary, can you tell us? You mentioned Magic Mountain. Is that like a Six Flags? Is that really where, did you recognize it? Did they really go to Magic Mountain? Is that where they were? Or is there another amusement park? I'm curious to know exactly where they were. And what a fun day that must have been. Just like her and the crew, and let's just go out and get these shots. I mean, that's fun. We don't get to do a lot of location shoots. Bold and Beautiful goes to Italy every year. We don't get a lot of that on Y&R. But this felt like that. It felt like a vacation, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it made for a very interesting visual on the screen, but also I think it's possibly an indicator of a turning point for the character of Summer, and she's starting to say things like, I feel different. I'm different. And I don't know exactly how that's going to translate into her future stories, but I love it. I love it. And I also loved that Summer asked Chance to go with her on the roller coaster. And when he said no, that he was busy, darn it, she went anyway. Yeah, she wasn't saying it as a ploy to just get him to go on a date with her or something. She was gonna do this with or without somebody else's company. And she did it. I really thought that Christine was going to get thrown off of Phyllis's case. When Heather found out that Christine had offered Phyllis this deal to exchange a guilty plea for Summer's freedom, Heather instantly viewed it as inappropriate. And she said to Christine that she was gonna file a motion to have Christine removed from the case for prosecutorial misconduct. Could you believe that? I mean, Christine, for so long, has been so above it all. You know, I guess I'm thinking of her, I always see her as legal aid, you know, always fighting for justice, always fighting for the good guy, the little guy, wanting the right thing to be done, really caring about the law and wanting to execute it properly. And so the idea of Christine being removed and disgraced was completely compelling to me. And also to have Heather be the one to bring it all about. Heather, her daughter-in-law from her estranged missing person husband. I was really geared up for that part of the story. But then it kind of disappeared. I mean, Heather put up some resistance at Phyllis's hearing, of course, and pointed out that Christine was not impartial. But Heather never mentioned having Christine removed again after she made the threat. And that makes me wonder if that was a leftover plot idea, maybe even because Christian LeBlanc had to be subbed out. I mean, can you imagine if it was Michael telling Christine that he was going to have her removed from the case for prosecutorial misconduct, and then maybe it actually happens to her and what that would do to their relationship? I mean, that would have been amazing. I mean, I think Y&R's gotten thrown off a little bit. I mean, it has to have been thrown off a little bit, the fact that Christian LeBlanc hasn't been here. By the way, he's still in the opening credits, so anytime we see Heather, we actually see him. Has he issued a statement or anything to the fans? I haven't seen anything in any major news reports. Has he done, I don't use social media though, so you guys would probably know that better than me. If he has done like a Twitter or a Facebook post or anything, has he said to the fans, hey, I'm okay, or hey, I'm not okay? Does anyone have any information on that this week? Please let me know, and then I'll report it back next week too, because I am concerned about him. And I hope that he's doing well, helping Gloria out of her legal troubles in Singapore. But, thinking about it too, this had to have been a quick sub. Maybe Vale Bloom, who is playing Heather very well and has been very compelling in all of this. Maybe she wasn't available for the longer storyline that they had planned for all of this. So maybe Y&R just had to make some adjustments. I don't know, but I do like Heather. Well, scratch that. I like the actress. I think that if she got the chance to play something less buttoned up and less stiff, then she could do it. I think it would be interesting to see her maybe getting into the middle of Paul and Christine's divorce. Christine got a message from Paul this week in Portugal saying that he wants to meet in Portugal, of course, not in Genoa City, in Portugal, of course. He wants to meet to talk about their relationship. And I'm guessing that this is just us seeing the beginning of the end for Paul and Christine will just come back and report on the divorce. How do you say goodbye in Portuguese? Lucy is such a little cutie pie with a little whipped cream and cherry on top of her head. I love her. She's adorable. But she does need some other teens to interact with. She doesn't have that. But it's cute just watching Daniel be a dad. Daniel is trying to be a better parent than the one he had while dealing with his own parental issues currently, like having a major problem with his mom currently. And I have to say, I appreciated both Heather and Mariah echoing a similar statement that Daniel had been out of control a couple of times in his life too. And I really like it when characters point out the hypocrisy of other characters, because it happens so often and we're all thinking it. And so I love when the characters are thinking it. But I also think it's a really deep observation that sometimes when a person is able to pick themselves up from a crash or a spiral out or whatever, and then they're able to successfully move forward, that later on it can sometimes be hard for them to have sympathy for other people who can't pick themselves up and move forward. It's like, I did it, so why can't you? That seems very relatable. I'm sure I'm guilty of that on some level. I can do it, so why can't you? Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Side note, I also appreciated Mariah, Daniel, and Lucy's park scene. Not so much for the Daniel stuff, but for the moment that Mariah was talking about Aria. She had this great speech where she mentioned the fact that there's kind of an unspoken competition that goes on between parents. Like, if your kid doesn't meet this milestone by this time, then your kid must not be as good as mine. And I remember feeling that way, or feeling worried about being judged by my daughter's, baby milestones. I mean, for the first year, 2 years, I think parents are really worried about that. Is my baby meeting all of the correct milestones? And I remember feeling judged or being afraid of being judged, or like other people were judging my baby against their baby. And it's icky, but I think it's really true in some circles. So thanks, Mariah, for saying that out loud. Now it's time for you to get to work. You've got a job at Augustus to do. Another key conversation of the week that I felt was really powerful was between Victoria and Nikki. Nikki admitted to Victoria that she was impressed with Nate's candor during their lunch grilling last week. She was impressed with his candor even if she didn't like his answers. And then Nikki was very quick to let Victoria know that Nate is not in love with her. Well, but Victoria already knew that. She and Nate talked about that in bed. Of course, where one would have such a conversation. I think Nate and Victoria don't need to rush love. They don't need to be thinking about love if they don't want to. They can just be dating. It's okay for them to just be enjoying each other's company and livelihoods and vigor and sexuality together. That's okay. Love is complicated. And it's sticky, and it can make you do really dumb things. And Victoria knows that she has made herself a victim of love. Victoria knows that she has bad taste in men. She knows that she's made a lot of bad decisions in relationships. And so that's exactly why it drives me nuts that everyone is in her face about it right now. Everyone else is allowed a second chance, third chance, fifth chance. Isn't Victoria allowed to try again at a relationship? It made me sad to hear Victoria talking to Nikki about how she may never love again. And I feel like everyone not letting Victoria forget her past is what's contributing to her current feeling of hopelessness when it comes to that. And then Nikki turned around and wanted to be the one to reassure her. She couldn't wait to tell Victoria that Nate doesn't love her, but then wanted to reassure her that all hope isn't lost and that she could fall in love again, just not with Nate. Adam's new apartment is giving him new life. Finally! He did something this week. He made a power move this week that actually had an impact. And the impact was getting Audra to be running scared. I don't think we have ever seen Audra running scared. Audra is always together, always on top, always confident. And now she's suddenly scrambling to keep her life from falling apart. All because Adam dug up the dirt on McCall's statutory rape cover-up. Not just for Phyllis, so it turns out. Adam saw an opportunity for himself right there. And I love that. I love that. He helped Phyllis, but he helped himself. He threatened to make that information go public if Audra doesn't help him merge Newman Media with Augustus so that he can be in control of both of those companies, which is what he's wanted for a long time. All right, Adam. Now something is finally happening. There's actually an effect from a lot of this business stuff. Adam wants Audra to convince Victor that it would be good for both companies if we had this merger. Basically, Adam wants Audra to support his position with Victor, and to do that, Audra needs Nate to also convince Victoria. Yes, getting somewhere. Plot! Finally! Finally! And to boot, now we actually get to see Nate's stripes. Yay! Just a little bit. A little tiny bit. Because Nate chose not to tell Victoria the whole truth and nothing but the truth about Audra's motivations and about Adam's blackmail. This is, why would he, what was he, Nate could have easily confided in Victoria. Nate could have easily decided to work together with Victoria to find a solution. He did not have to go Lone Ranger on this. I think he's still trying to prove himself. I think he still wants to prove that he can handle it. That he can handle it on his own. He's trying to prove that he would be worthy of that co-CEO position. That he doesn't have to bring every little thing to Victoria. I think that's where his head is. Because Nate's gain or loss on this whole thing is so minimal that keeping secrets from Victoria will only serve to prove everyone right about him, or they're going to think they're right about him. Nate has nothing to gain by lying and everything to lose. I don't think Nate sees it as lying. I think he sees it as handling it. But if I were Nate, I would not stick my neck out 1 inch for Audra, especially not when my head is already in the guillotine. His head has been in the guillotine for weeks now. And Nate did tell Audra, look, I want to help you, but I am only going to go so far. I just so happen to think that this merger is a good idea, so I will work on it and see if I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You just need to be cool. But then, I was paraphrasing, by the way. But then, Audra got so freaked out. She's so freaked out thinking that she is going to lose her career, her reputation, both, everything, that she decided to go rogue and call a meeting with Nikki. Well, Nikki has been on high alert about anything and everything Nate and Audra for a while now. I mean, Audra completely circumvented Nate's request to just handle this, and then she goes right to Nikki. Now, suddenly, Nikki has been privy to one conversation where Nate is trying to convince Victoria to go through with the merger. And now, all of a sudden, Audra's pitching it to her too. Seems awfully convenient. And so next week, Nikki is going to go tattle to Victor about the whole thing. And more than likely, Victor is going to end up following the trail back to the source, back to Adam. I would just like to say that I think it is very uncool of Diane to get all judgmental on Audra. Like she's the authority on Kyle's love life decisions. Kyle loves Summer, not you, Audra. Okay, it's not very nice, Diane, for family members to weigh in on the romantic decisions of other family members. You should know that, don't you think? You do not have the right to tell Kyle who not to divorce or who not to date any more than Ashley had a right to tell Jack who to marry. Or Jack having the right to tell Ashley who to marry. I gotta hand it to Abby this week. She knows that we need and deserve a real wedding after Jack and Diane's courthouse snoozer. Don't get me wrong, it was nice, but Abby went to Jack this week, pleading with him one more time to hold a détente. I can't even say it without laughing. A détente. To make Abbott family peace. Okay. A détente must be a fancy way of saying meeting, peace meeting. This is kind of like how Y&R used pied-à-terre as a fancy way to say apartment. This just reinforces why I've spent my life watching this show. I basically learned everything I need to know from Y&R. I get my education from Y&R. Because now, I don't need to say apartment ever again when I can say pied-à-terre and sound way smarter. And now I don't even have to say meeting again when I can say détente. It sounds great coming out of your mouth. Go ahead, say it now, détente. Makes it sound like you really know what you're doing. Oh. And what a détente it was. Abby was able to do in one episode what Tracy could not do in several episodes, but specifically a special episode also dedicated to John Abbott. Tracy tried this and it didn't end up working out, but Abby was able to do it. She was able to make Jack and Ashley hug and make up. And just like that, Jack says he accepts Ashley's relationship and marriage to Tucker. And Ashley invited him to the wedding with Diane on the guest list too. So to me, it seems like that was kind of all Jack wanted all along. Ashley's the one who had this dramatic turnaround. And why not? She's got Billy doing her dirty work now. She can go ahead and pretend to back off and be a good sibling while Billy's getting his hands dirty. I do feel bad that Billy has been thrust into the middle of all of this, but at the same time, I'm loving that Billy has been thrust into all of the middle of this, because I think that Billy is Team Jack, but then Team Ashley makes a compelling case. If, Ashley said if she were to take over Jabot, then she would make Billy be the one in charge of it. So that would be great for Billy. That would give Billy the autonomy that he has probably been wanting. But if if the war between Jack and Ashley is over or appears to be over, then does Billy really even need to keep up the charade anymore? Or is it a charade anymore? I don't know. Does Billy have an agenda of his own? Real quickly here, I read an article this week that said that last Saturday, Y&R held its very first fan event in 4 years. So like there's a fan get-together and a fans get-together in Burbank, California. I think it was maybe an annual fan event that got canceled when COVID came around. And then this year, for the first time since COVID, they were able to start having this fan event again. And I saw lots of photos from it. It's very strange. It seemed like it was in a conference room. And it just seemed odd to see all of the characters in this very normal hotel setting. And everybody was there, practically anyway. Eric Braeden was there. So he must be feeling well enough to still continue to travel. And I'm sure these types of events are also really good for him emotionally too, just to continue to receive that love and get out and, do what he likes to do and is very good at doing. I thought Michael G, who plays Daniel, looked adorable. You have to look up his photos. He was wearing this he was sort of giving cool 90s, like radical 80s, 90s, wild printed shirt with these sunglasses. He definitely had a look. He's adorable and fun, and I think he's really good for the show and good for gearing up the fan base. And I mean, everybody looked beautiful. I heard that Melissa Ordway did the kind of DJing and introducing everybody, and she really took a lead on that. And I think she's been a very good ambassador for the show. Ambassadors for the show, that's a part of their jobs, right? They have their on-screen jobs that they do, but then they're also expected to help cultivate that fan base, and how wonderful that they were finally able to do that again after 4 long years of not being able to do that get together with the fans. Now, I have never been to a Y&R fan event, and I can tell you probably 10 years ago I wouldn't have wanted to, but I'm kind of thinking, if Y&R did have an event and it was close enough and the price was right, I would probably consider going. And I thought, well, I'm going to ask everybody else that question this week for a poll question. Would you consider going to a Y&R fan event with all the stars? And, honestly, I'd love to talk to some of the set people. I would really, like a day-long Y&R symposium, maybe even 2 days long, like a con, like a convention, a Y&R convention. Would you do it if it was within a reasonable traveling distance to where you are? It's probably going to be a major city. Like for me, it would be in Chicago. And if the price was right, if it wasn't like a ridiculously expensive ticket and hotels, like if you could afford it, if you could afford it and it was in your nearest major city, would you do it? YRChat.com. That's our poll question for the week. And bonus, if any of you were actually at this fan event this past Saturday, or if you've ever been to a Y&R fan event, leave us a comment and tell us all about it. The house always wins. That was our quote from last week, and it was Ms. Nikki Newman who said it. She was talking to Nate, saying that, oh, well, Nate, it doesn't really even matter what kind of plan you come up with, just so you know, the house always wins. That is the House of Newman. I assume the House of Newman always wins. And I mean, basically all of you guys won too. Pretty much everybody guessed that was Nikki. I'm not sure if you just guessed because it sounded like a Nikki line or if you actually heard it, but boy, there was 15 winners. I think maybe even more. Ron, Henry, Karen, Elise, Dina, Nina D, Nancy, Naomi, Victoria, Michelle, Francie, Diane K, Juanita, Sheila, Tony, good old Marky, and Kamna. You guys all got that one. Geesh. I don't know if this one's going to be any harder or any easier. I never know. Who said this? I know who I am, and I embrace it. I know who I am and I embrace it. Well, I can tell you who did not say that. I will give you a hint. For the first time ever, I'll give you a hint and I'll tell you who did not say it. Phyllis. Phyllis did not say, I know who I am and I embrace it. And I think maybe that's what's driving me nuts about the whole thing. It's like, a couple of weeks ago, when she was in the park, before she even revealed herself as being back, she was saying, oh, Diane, I'm not going to let Diane win. Hell no. And I was like, okay, she's done all these bad things, but she is embracing it, so I'm here for it. And now it just seems like a little bit of that has fallen away, and we've got this fake contriteness, and it's just not sitting well with me. So that's my big hint for you. I know who I am, and I embrace it. Phyllis did not say it, but you can tell me if you think you know who did. YRChat.com, and if you get it right, I will give you your shout out during next week's Y&R Chat. Speaking of Nikki, Sharon W. says, Diane tells Nikki, quote, I would really admire you if you weren't so loathsome. Sharon W., I have to tell you, that was gonna be the quote for the week. And then I saw your comment and I'm like, oh no, I can't use it now. Everybody will know it. But because that was an amazing line. I would really admire you if you weren't so loathsome. Yeah, Nikki's getting a lot of good lines. In fact, Sharon W. also says, Nikki advising Audra that she doesn't like to be played. She doesn't like to be buttered up. She always prefers directness. To chatters who love Nikki, that's a step up from Nikki entering a room saying to Victor, hello, darling. I died when she said, I don't like to be buttered up. Ah! Who even says that anymore? I love that phrase, buttered up. And you're buttering me up. I mean, because people will say blowing smoke or whatever, but buttered up really evokes a real mental image, doesn't it? And I loved that line. Nikki's getting some really great lines right now. Sue W. says, Nikki can bring it for sure. She is one tough scrapper behind her society dame facade. I just love her character. She has such a rich history. Nikki, 1 zillion names in between Newman, is one of my faves, even when relegated to hello darlings and judgy faces. All just a part of who she is, and no one does it better. Haven't yet seen the scene you referred to, but Audra would become very small potatoes indeed when pitted against a Nikki full-blown in all of her Nickiness. Meowza. Yeah, and the looks is another. She's not always given the greatest material, but right now she's getting good zinger lines, and Melody Thomas got just the best job of just looking at the camera and giving you, she knows who she is. MTS knows who she is. She knows what the viewers want. She knows she's in daytime. She knows how to give that look. I mean, it almost feels like cartoonish in the way that she has ramped it up, but it's right. It's so right. She's a master. I mean, she's a master at her craft. Well, Ellen says, Nikki's life advice to Victoria, hey, get married and divorced over and over and over. Life is short. Make it messy. Kill a few people. It's all good. You'll never have a single regret like me, and you'll throw charity events and look down on people with ease. Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, Nikki, the character, she's not a great role model for love. Or anything else, really. It's just that Melody Thomas Scott plays it so compellingly. And Ellen also says Nikki Melody is walking and moving much more freely. Her back pain must be better. It's good to see. Ellen, I noticed the same thing, and I'm so glad you brought this up because I wouldn't have thought to. But I, too, noticed that she seems like she feels more comfortable because she has had a lot of back pain and back issues, and we've seen it where she just seems like it hurts to move. And right now she seems like she feels good. Like she's moving freely and just seeming more comfortable, and she's really giving us a little extra. She's giving us that extra oomph, and I do take that as maybe she is feeling her oats these days. Well, Sharon W. says, Nate was trying to advise Adam that he worked really hard to get to the top of Newman. Adam reminded Nate that he was in a hurry to get the top job and date a powerful woman, as in Victoria, Quite a poignant moment when, with his hand on Nate's shoulder, Adam called him Doctor, as if to say, you're not even able to be a doctor anymore, at least not a surgeon. Yeah, I liked that moment. I took it as Adam saying to Nate, like, remember where you were. Remember where you came from. Never forget where you came from. Your rise to the top was pretty quick, but let's not forget that a year ago you were a doctor. And Victoria says, Nate's rise to the top took all of 2 minutes. If there was a board game called Newman Enterprises, Nate would have drawn the card stating, date Victoria, and go directly to the executive office. Victoria, this comment deserves a gold star. You win for the week. That is so funny because now I'm imagining what the board would look like for the Newman Enterprises board game. It has to look like Clue. And then all of the characters in our show have to be characters that move on the board. And and then it's not Clue. So there's a different component of the game where there is a card that says, oh, you date Victoria Newman. Go directly to the executive office. That's so great. Well done. Also well done, Victoria. You point up, Namaste, Tucker. So you can still get angry and punitive. Audra's mistake challenged your cool demeanor. You're entitled to a slip-up. I'm sure you'll be able to talk your way out of this one. Hoping next week's wedding goes off without a hitch. I can't wait to see what shenanigans you'll be up to. I'm glad you brought this up, Victoria. Tucker lost his cool. Oh, it wasn't all namaste and good karma and things from Tucker as soon as his security was threatened. Oh, it's real easy to be all zen about things when it's going your way or when the stakes are low. But he really snapped and lost it and turned a different face when it came to ripping Audra a new one for a problem that was just as much his fault as hers. I mean, whatever. He apologized to her later. But yeah, I like knowing that Tucker still has that sharp edge tucked away deep down in there. Oh, Sherrod says, so Cameron Grimes has finally got one of her biggest dreams coming true. She's 5 months pregnant. I wonder how Y&R will handle this regarding her character of Mariah. Actually, I guess they'll probably ignore it like they did for Melissa Claire Egan, who already gave birth, and Crystal Khalil, who's still pregnant. Too bad they already had Mariah pregnant for Abby and then gave Tessa and her somebody else's baby. Now it would be perfect for a storyline. Oh well, c'est la vie. I'm happy for her. Oh yeah, you're right. It would be perfect to actually write it into the storyline now, but she's already 5 months along. That's interesting. She must have waited a while before she wanted to announce it. And I saw from some photos of her from the fan event on Saturday where she was holding her belly. So yes, congratulations to her. I forgot Crystal Khalil's pregnant. I don't know why I didn't even think of that. And yeah, Melissa Claire Egan also just gave birth. Boy! We got a lot of babies happening behind the scenes at Y&R. You never know, maybe there'll be some new on-screen babies. Last week I asked you guys, who's the better match for Chance? Sharon or Summer? I guess it's no real surprise. 77% slam dunk want Chance and Summer. And yet, when we did the Chance and Sharon poll, it was equally as slam dunk that everybody thought it was hot. It was Sharon and Chance, hot or not. Everybody said hot, but now if given the choice, we'd rather have Chance with Summer. Ellen says, I sense most chatters will go with Summer since they are in the same age bracket, so could possibly have more potential for the future. Sure. But does Chance need to be the one to put the pieces of Summer back together? Really? Summer is truly Phyllis's hot mess daughter. That's the direction the show just took her. Now she's going to be raising her son, Harrison, not her son, with her angry ex and running Marchetti within her angry ex's family company while she heals from her divorce and deals with her insane mother and ticked off brother. Sounds like a blast for Chance. Yay. I vote for sofa sex. and picnics with the alluring Sharon for a while. Maybe Summer will get her act together eventually. For now, let her work on it. I'm sure the paragon of stability, her design CEO, Chelsea Lawson, can guide her through the healing process. Yeah, Chelsea Lawson, the paragon of stability. Yeah. I wonder if the roller coaster thing and the I've changed and I'm mad at I see my mother for who she is that supposed to be part of changing Summer's character to be a little more stable for Chance? Because at first I thought, is the roller coaster thing gonna say that Summer's gonna go wild? Maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's about her becoming more stable. I'm not sure. I really like the character of Summer. Maybe you're right, though, that Chance and Summer give a little bit more of a juicy pull. I don't know. I mean, Chance and Summer's maybe a little more predictable, right? I don't know. Well, Michelle says, this poll question made me realize why I got excited for Sharon and Chance. Their hot lovemaking was really exciting to watch, but now that I think about it, it was more a matter of seeing a new set. I've always wanted to see the coffee house storeroom. That was the hot part for me, so I voted for Summer in the poll, as there's no way Sharon can make this work. But Chance and Summer is sort of predictable. It's sort of like, it's what we would all expect. Chance and Sharon, maybe it's a little more offbeat or a little more unexpected. That makes me like Chance and Sharon better. Kamna says Summer and Chance are promising on the surface, but I think she's too much of a high flyer for him. And that's why I voted Sharon. I feel like it's going to be an interesting triangle either way. Well, let's talk about Phyllis's party in the park. Henry says Phyllis felt that she was making a grand effort to mend fences with her kids by having a celebratory meeting in the park with Lauren included. I think it was so cool when Summer said, and I'm paraphrasing, "Mom, did you think this was going to solve things just by treating us with a little champagne and cake?" Bravo, Summer, and Daniel as well. Phyllis brought Jeremy Stark to Genoa City in the first place, and fast forward, Summer's marriage breaks up because of all that transpired from that scenario. Phyllis is just a nut. It's true. But she does know how to throw a party. I think Phyllis should be the one to plan Dolores's birthday party on August 16th and Ron's birthday party on August 18th. What is going on? Is August the month for Y&R Chatter birthdays? It's just been birthdays. Happy birthday, Dolores! And happy birthday, Ron. What is Phyllis going to do for you? That's the question. I'll tell you right now, the party that Phyllis throws for you guys individually for your birthday will most certainly be more about Phyllis than about you. That will be how that will go down, just so you know. But on the plus side, cake. You can choose, Dolores and Ron, do you choose to put your cake on a plate or are you just going to go right in with the fork? That's your question you can tell me this week. Let's get down to the case. Ellen says, I guess the show really thinks that we will buy the poor Phyllis was manipulated and blackmailed into doing all her crimes. And anything she did was a bad choice that she made because she was in a weakened state because her family and friends abandoned her. She planned and executed everything on her own with her eyes wide open. Jeremy was a late addition to her schemes. She's such a liar. Her regrets and crocodile tears are just because she cares about herself. This story left me with zero empathy for Phyllis. It's too bad they didn't have her take actual responsibility and get a real sentence of some kind. Soon Phyllis will be acting all smug and superior and carefree, and I unfortunately will have to go get a snack instead of being interested in the great Michelle Stafford's stories. What a waste. You know, I feel similar in that I just would rather have seen her really be sorry and get a punishment and go away I mean, all the time they had her away on the run, they could have just sent her to prison. She was off the show for a while. They should have just sent her to prison. Then she could have come back and say, hey, I did my time, you know, and then we could just continue on with the Phyllis story. Instead, it just feels like it's lagging. I don't get the true feeling of remorse from her. That's the only thing that's missing for me. I don't feel like she's learned her lesson at all. I feel like when she was at the park with the party and she was talking to Lauren and she was having the telling her it was a party, it's a party, it's a celebration, my freedom. And then as soon as that didn't fly with Summer and Daniel going, what, you telling me we're celebrating here? She started going, oh no, I mean, it's a celebration for you. I wanted to, so it's never quite genuine enough for me. And Sherrod says, I'm still trying to decipher if Phyllis is truly lying to her children that Carson saw her kill Stark, or is Josh Griffith, the head and only writer at the moment, trying to gaslight the viewers? Did we, the audience, miss Carson peering through the bathroom window? No, absolutely not. He was not there. He was not part of it. But I think it's left ambiguous. He was not there. The viewers never saw him. It's total rewrite. That all came back. It's not even believable. Like, what, he saw through the window, but then you didn't bother to get his help with the whole situation? You never contacted him on your own, never mentioned it for weeks and weeks. No, but I think Y&R has left it ambiguous enough that I guess there's reasonable doubt. I mean, we didn't see it, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. But I did like that Summer and Daniel asked Phyllis about that again. They said, okay, well, was that even real? Was that even true? And then Phyllis clutches her chest and says, of course that's true. It's true. He saw everything through the window. And I personally don't believe that, but it's sort of like, well, you just get to pick. Just pick. Do you believe it or do you not believe it? Was Carson there or is Phyllis lying? You just get to pick whatever fits your version of the story. And in that way, that's a little interesting. Does anyone believe that Carson was actually there? Leave me a comment this week and let me know. Victoria says, Phyllis is, of course, rewriting history. I think she may have convinced herself that this really happened. The only time Jeremy threatened her was when she was going to reveal what they had done. Writing for Phyllis in prison might have been interesting. If the character of Phyllis is going to have any sort of rehabilitation, it would have begun in jail. Yeah, I really agree with you. And also, by the way, that's true. The only time Jeremy threatened her was when she went against him and said, okay, I'm kind of having regrets. I'm going to blow up our plan that we totally just all pulled off flawlessly. It wasn't until that point that Jeremy became a threat. Gary says, in Phyllis's story, after killing Jeremy Stark in self-defense, she left out the part about dragging the body to the river in a shower curtain. Gary, this is great. Phyllis didn't just kill Jeremy. She also disposed of his body. She didn't just stab him to death with scissors in self-defense. Okay, let's believe that. She also covered it up. And that just got washed away. Forgiven. Diana says it's so ridiculous that Phyllis got off with community service. She's one lucky lady. Jeremy Stark didn't make Phyllis do anything. He simply asked her a few times if she wanted to get back at Diane and that he had a plan. Phyllis was all in after a few run-ins with Jeremy. Does Phyllis and the show think we forget how she lured Diane to her hotel room and tried to hold her hostage there? And how she spoke to Diane with such vengeance at the jazz club? Jeremy never once threatened Phyllis to do anything to Diane. It was all done on her own volition. All the crimes that were committed before the murder of Jeremy Stark were done very willingly by Phyllis. It was only after all the crimes were committed that Phyllis wanted to stay in town and be with her family that Jeremy threatened her. Yes, I mean, I agree. The other thing is, Phyllis told the judge that Jeremy was threatening her kids. Jeremy never threatened her kids. Never. I never once heard Jeremy say he was going to do anything to Summer or Daniel. But that suddenly became part of Phyllis's narrative. Is she lying or has she convinced herself of this? I don't know. But Phyllis will always have a supporter in Jamie, who says, "Oh, baby, my girl swung big with her beautifully teary mea culpa mercy plea, and it worked out exactly how I wanted it to. She got the soap slap on the wrist, and I so want Allie to be correct in her prediction that Phyllis will be serving charity Thanksgiving meals at Crimson Lights with Sharon. Now my favorite firecracker can get back to being fabulous and actually make amends to her loved ones. I love Phyllis as a reformed baddie who still has her edge and spice, but reserves her powers to help and avenge her inner circle mostly." How is Y&R going to... So they've decided not to send her to prison. That would have been the, a good way to show the viewers amends. We're going to reset, because Phyllis needs to be reset. The craziness has been going on since like March, right? So she's worked up a lot of bad juju with the audience, I think. Most of the audience, except Jamie. She's worked up some bad juju in that time. And Y&R chose to not let prison be the reset. What's going to be the reset? As Jamie says, maybe it's her helping out her family members and trying to avenge. But she always... but I don't think she's going to be able to save Summer and Kyle's marriage. I think Phyllis is probably going to tell herself that that's how she's going to help Summer, by saving Kyle and Summer's marriage. But I don't think it's going to work out that way. Phyllis definitely we need to see her doing something. We need to get a sense that she's trying to work it out and trying to do right, and that it is real and genuine, and not in the same way that Sharon keeps insisting that she wants to do something here with Augustus. She's got blah, blah, blah. It's all talk. I want to see Phyllis do something that resets the board. Sue W. says, "I don't mind the resolution to Phyllis's story. It's just a fantasy. Soaps are clearly not modeled after real life, nor anyone should take lessons from them. Outside the occasional PSA about mental health or harming cats, Y&R really doesn't strive to, nor should they, teach people how to live and behave. Usually it's quite the opposite, actually. How many impressionable lost souls actually watch and take notes to live by from Y&R? Rhetorical, of course. Even if there are those, Y&R is not responsible to produce morally upstanding endings to their made-up farces. I would have been equally pleased and found it good soapy fun to see Phyllis go to jail. I guess if jail is fun. But to what end? To make some viewers happy? She'd be out eventually anyway, and the Phyllis haters would still hate her, and so it goes on. Love it or hate it, I do fully expect the phoenix she embodies to rise again." Oh, there we go. That was a really good comment. Yeah, I know it's not reality. We can't expect it to be reality. We all know it's a farce, and Y&R doesn't owe us a happy, satisfying ending. But I can accept not a happy ending, but boy, it doesn't feel totally satisfying. I need a cleanse. I need a little bit of a cleanse on the Phyllis. I need something different from Phyllis. I want to see something a little different before we go back to the same. Diana says, "All true, Sue. But the more realistic, the more you can get into the storylines and their lives. I don't care that Phyllis didn't go to jail. I wasn't expecting her to. For me, it's the simple things, like changing their clothes, having homes, working, and showing the characters spending time with their children every now and then. All of this alongside good storylines with good drama, intrigue, and romance." Oh, Diana, that's so good. These are so good. You guys are great. I mean, yes, the more realistic the story is, I find the more I'm able to get into it, even if it's a farce of a plot. But you're right. It's these little elements that are in the sidelines that really bring it home. I can accept an unsatisfying story or a farcical plot or whatever, but I want to find a way to connect with it. I want to find a way to pretend it's real for that hour a day. And you're right that it's the things that are happening on the peripheral that really coat on that extra layer of immersion in whatever's going on. Naomi says, "This is true for me too. I don't grasp the chess moves of the corporate world. I enjoy the details of the conversations and the details of the sets. It's also fun to watch each character do the same small things each day. Victoria will turn away and pour a glass of water to sip as she listens to Nikki or Nate. The men all unbutton their suit jacket to sit down and button again when standing up. Adam and Tucker usually sit with one arm flung over the back of their chair. And Phyllis always has a clutch purse laying on the table, and she many times fidgets with it by moving it slightly as she talks. These things make the characters real to me. Yes, that's such a good note to end on, because that's totally it. The little things. It's the little things, like sticking your fork in the cake. It's so like me. I hone in on the food because I'm a food addict, but I love the pouring glass of water, like all that. Yes. But for me, because I'm a food addict, I always look at what they're eating. And I was really riveted by the cake. Cake, macaroons, and then there was some other fake pastry looking thing on the table that was on a plate at first, and then as the scene progressed, the fake pastry went off the plate and was just laying on the table. That really pulled me out of my fantasy. Oh, it's all fun. It's all good. And in general, like I said, I think this week was really good. The ending was not overall satisfying for me in the Phyllis stuff, but it's a reset, and then we can go back to new stuff. In 2 weeks from now, we're not going to be talking at all about whether or not Phyllis should go to jail. It'll just be some new form, and hopefully it'll be something good and something new. I want to move on. I think I just want to move on. So in that way, success. Maybe somewhere on the roller coaster is an indicator of that too. Okay. So I know you guys have opinions. Go to yrchat.com and you can give them to me. I love reading everything that you guys have to say. It's always good and always thoughtful. And boy, this week's comments really represent that. So thank you. And come back next Sunday. We'll chat again. I love you guys. Bye.